Welcome in, everybody. We are here again for another edition of me talking some New Jersey high school football. I'm trying to get more consistent with posting my thoughts and recording my thoughts as to what I think about some of the teams that we have in New Jersey right now. And some of the teams that we have right now in the state of New Jersey who are really killing it. So week 3 is bringing us a huge battle between the number one public school team and the number one private school team in the state of New Jersey. We have Winslow versus Bergen Catholic at Winslow. And these are two teams that I had an opportunity to watch at Battle at the Beach. And I think they're I think it could be a good matchup. I'm not sitting here saying that it's gonna be a blowout or anything like that, but I do think it can be a competitive game. Do I think Bergen has overwhelmingly more talent than Winslow? Yes. However, that doesn't mean that Winslow can't win the game. So I'm gonna start by talking about what I like about each team, units that I like, things like that, matchups, things like that. So first on the Winslow side, everybody knows if you've been watching or following my stuff from Prep Red Zone, you know that I'm a huge fan of quarterback Jalen Parker. 5'11, good runner. Not really a physically imposing type player, but he's a smart player. And I continuously highlight the things that I love about him is his ability to create and throw and make accurate throws under pressure, which will be a huge skill that he'll have to tap into in this game against Bergen Catholic. But Jalen Parker is where I start. I always start with the signal caller because they are the biggest drivers of success when it comes to just football across the board on every level. Excuse me, if you have a solid quarterback, you can overlook certain other areas that you may not be as strong at. So I always start with Jalen Parker. People give him a lot of flack just because he doesn't have the offers or the recruiting. But if you watch and you turn on the tape, even if you go back and you look at the IMG game, um, I think he played, well enough considering the circumstances. I think he played and showed people that he can hang with that level of competition despite his limitations. So where Winslow excels right now is their playmakers. Between Nakir Helton, what they call him, Boom Helton, I think is what they call him. Between TJ Maddox, um, Karan Ali, all of these guys who can win one-on-one matchups and create after the catch. Um, Even in that game against IMG, you saw TJ Maddox really, put us on notice as to the type of player he is. Also, I would love if somebody could get that man a belt so he can have his pants strapped up this game, so he not spending half the game pulling up his pants. Just me. But what he did show is his ability to win in one-on-one situations on the outside or in the slot. He's really good at tracking the football in the deep areas, especially up the sidelines, and he has great body control and awareness to make these tougher catches. And he did that 3 times against IMG and really stood out to me. If you look at Nakir Hilton, even though he had a costly fumble in that IMG game, I mean, it was easy to see that when the ball is in his hands, he's a physical specimen, able to create a lot of yards after contact. It's a physical player and can really get upfield. It's not a burner, but plays with a physicality and plays tough at the catch point that I think that the Bergen Catholic DBs will be tested. They'll be tested and they'll have to show up against these playmakers. So I think between those two guys, I think those are their best two playmakers. And then again, you have Karan Ali, who is another player who can, catch the football and create after the catch. Even their freshman, I can't remember his name, number 18. He's a solid player. He can make plays too. So my point is that they just have playmakers all across the board. And then the one playmaker that they didn't have the first time was Quiet Hendricks, who's coming over from Burlington Township. He had to sit out as a result of the transfer rule, but he should be back for this game, and he should make a huge difference. Again, just another player who can stretch the field, get vertical, and who has some legit speed with the ball in his hands. And anytime you can just corner the market on these guys, it's always a great opportunity to attack the defense in different ways. And I think he can help do that. So the Winslow offense for sure is gonna definitely give Bergen, especially in the passing game, gonna give Bergen a run for their money. Um, in addition, I think I like what they do on defense. Now I'm talking about Winslow still. Um, I was really impressed with Karan Caesar. His ability to consistently make plays on the football like he did in that IMG game. He also made a play up the sideline in what was that? I think he was playing cover two and made that play in the deep half. And just, again, just showing his range and showing that he can hang. It's gonna be really tough for their defensive line to get pressure this game because again, it's a similar, type situation that Winslow had against IMG. But I don't think it's a situation where it's impossible for them to create pressure. You got Azor Hurd, who is a solid tackler, especially in the open field, great speed. And Kamaj Matthews. They just have a host of players who can, fly around and make plays um for the defense. And I'm expecting to see that again. I'm not sitting here saying that they have just an overwhelmingly amount of talent to compete with Bergen Catholic. What I am saying is I don't think it's going to be a situation where they get blown out because they do have players who can play and who can make things happen. So that's what I like about Winslow. As far as Bergen, just being honest, it's kind of hard not to like everything that they are, all of their units, offense, defense, special teams. I mean, they have a solid unit across the board. If you look at quarterback Trey Tagliaferri, and it's just his second start. I mean, he looks like a poised veteran. He might be one of the best high school quarterbacks I've ever seen. And I'm not saying that. And I've seen a pretty good amount of high school quarterbacks. I think he's going to be really good. With his ability to play on time and on rhythm, and then his ability to also so we're again talking about quarterback Trey Tagliaferri from Bergen Catholic. Again, I was mentioning how I believe he's probably one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of high school quarterbacks, but his ability to just play in rhythm and on time and not make a lot of mistakes, I think is what impresses me the most. And I'm a sucker for a quarterback that can push that monkey down the field and be accurate while pushing it down the field. It's like Trey does everything that I like. He doesn't really create a lot on the ground with his legs, but he is very I'll say nimble when it comes to navigating the pocket. He's really good at that. He doesn't take a lot of bad sacks, and he just seems to be coached really well. I know he works out with quarterback trainer Tony I think how you say his name is Recipriati. I know who he is if I see him. He's one of the I think he's the quarterback coach over at Hun, and he trains a lot of the top quarterbacks out of here, out of New Jersey. I know he trains Kenny Pickett, and then he trained somebody else too. So I've been seeing a lot of Trey's videos working with him. So it just shows, and it shows in his preparation, it shows in his throwing, obviously, shows in his decision making. And again, that's just a testament to everything that he's been, and he's been coached really well. So starting there, their offensive line is enormous. Um, they can do both. They can pass block and run block. And I don't really see Trey get pressured too much, and they definitely move folks in the run game. So that offensive line allows Bergen Catholic to do pretty much anything they want on offense. And then they got a two-headed monster for running backs with Dante King and Najee Calhoun. It seemed like Dante was used a lot more against excuse me, Boca Raton. Um, but that's just goes to the amount of wrinkles that Bergen Catholic can throw at you. You know, one week you'll have, Najee get 20 carries and 30 touches or whatever out of the backfield, and then you got one week where Dante Kane is the featured back again, just giving us more wrinkles and more giving the defense more things to think about. Then you move to their pass catchers, and it's another bevy, of pass catchers between obviously Brian Porter, brother of Quincy Porter, who iced the game against Boca Raton. Then you got Austin Busso, who I've been bullish on since the beginning of last year, and I thought he was going to be a really big contributor, but he's just showing up in a big way, especially this last game. It was like he really couldn't be stopped, and he's one wide receiver that can really create a crazy amount of separation on his own, and he showed that again in last game. And then also they have the kid Anthony Willis, man. I liked him when he was on JV. He was a big go up and get it guy, very strong at the catch point, able to make tough catches, able to show off his athleticism. And he's really been solid these last two games and making plays and making tough catches too. So I really love everyone they have as pass catchers. Even Jamel Hemery, I know he didn't have a catch last game, but in that game against East St. Louis, he has some plays too. So they have playmakers who can make things happen, and that's all you need. And so that's another thing too, is just like Bergen Catholic is so multiple when it comes to offensive thing of ways that they can beat you. It's gonna be tough on Winslow to keep up with all of that. And they're a deep team too. Like they have a lot of guys who can come in and step up who are not their main guys. They're not their main guy. And then it's like who even is their main guy? The last game it was Najee Calhoun going crazy and Dante Kane, and then this game Austin Busso comes out and has another strong game. So it's just like who do you key in on? Who do you want to stop? Who do you want to limit? Just because they have so many weapons. And then switching to going to Bergen's defense, I mean, they have one of the strongest defensive lines I think I've seen in a while. Headlined by Jackson Vaughn and Jermaine Kensler, who, continue to be stout against the run. Their interior is very stout. And again, it's tough to run against them. And then even if you remember against IMG, Winslow didn't even really run the ball like that. They were exclusively a pass team, and they play about as well as you can do with being one dimensional. Not wanting to give Bergen Catholic's defensive line, ways to tee off on them. So I think we'll see a little bit more, but I'll talk about that in my next section. I want to continue to talk about Bergen and what I like about them. So I think their linebackers are solid. They're good enough to get the job done. Sometimes you'll see some of them walk down onto the end of the line of scrimmage. Other times you'll see them, off the ball. But again, just like on offense, they're so multiple. On defense, they're so multiple too. And then that goes back to their defensive backs. You look at the Woodward twins, you look at Joshua Cruz, and then you look at obviously Jordan Thomas, Ohio State commit. They all just move interchangeably. I could have sworn like I saw one of the Woodward twins at outside corner. Then I saw one at safety on one play. I mean, maybe I was tripping, but I thought I saw them just moving so interchangeably throughout the entire game. Again, that just gives the defense a different look. And again, they just got so many different ways that they can attack you. And then, like going to Jordan Thomas, one of the things I like about him is Bergen uses him similarly to how the Chiefs use Trent McDuffie. And when I was watching the game, like that's the name that kept jumping out at me, Trent McDuffie. Like he's not just a great slot corner, he's a great defensive back. Because one play he'll be at slot corner, one play he can be at outside linebacker, outside corner, one play he can be at deep safety. That type of versatility again just confuses the heck out of the defense and gives them so many different looks. And I think with the stout defensive line and them being so multiple on the back end, like that is gonna be a tough test for Winslow to overcome. I mean, having to deal with the pressure first of all, because they have a deep D line rotation of about five to seven guys that can come in and create pressure on a quarterback. And when you have that type of depth, it's relentless. And even when I was looking at the IMG game for Winslow, like they had offensive linemen, cramping up during the game, falling left and right. And so it's just like, that I don't know if obviously that's not gonna help him against Bergen, but I mean Bergen can take advantage of all your weaknesses. And so going to now where I want to talk about because this is more of a matchup where I've seen Coach Bill Belton create a game plan to at least keep his team competitive. Against IMG, they got the ball out quick and they didn't give the defensive line of IMG the opportunity to tee off on quarterback Jalen Parker. And even when they did get opportunities, he ran and got and created yards on the ground. And then he even scored a 13-yard touchdown in the red area. So he's shown that he can navigate through pressure. But this line, I'm not saying it's better or worse than IMG's line, but I'm saying it's on a similar level to where he'll have to create that same type of way. So, on Winslow's side, I think that they need to do the same thing that they did against IMG. Get the ball out quick, challenge these because, like, if you look at the defensive backs for Bergen, and so I'm specifically talking about Woodward and I'm talking about the Woodward twins and Cruz, like they can be beat. Like it's not like they're unbeatable corners and they're so good that nobody will be able to pass. They can be beat and you can take advantage of them. So I feel like a similar game plan has to be instituted here because if you let Bergen's line tee off on Parker, it's going to be a long day. And I just don't know if Winslow's O-line can handle their depth, one, and then, the skill level of the top end pass rushers between Jackson Vaughn, who's a dog and who's a stud and just makes plays all over the field. Even Kinsler, Orgel, like all of these guys they have, even I believe the kid's name is Jackson, I believe, like 93, big 93 with the knee brace. I mean, even he's good. He come in, he can make some plays too. So I just want to see them. I don't want to forget my man Jaden Beckley too, who's coming off the bench, number 99, who can come in and cause havoc too. So they just got a deep defensive line. And so to combat that, they still going to have to get the ball out quick. Where, however, I want Winslow to I want him to make an effort. Against IMG, they made no effort to run the football. And in a game like this, you got to keep their defense, off balance. And see, that is the key matchup for me. It's the Winslow offense versus the Bergen Catholic defense, right? And they have to get really sexy in their run game. I've been watching run schemes for the past 5 years. I've seen teams that have been overmatched and still be able to create, in the run game. It just means that you're going to have to utilize more of your players if you want to run the football. So your wide receiver is going to have to crack ends. Your wide receiver is going to have to get second level. You just have to get creative and sexy. Use traps, things like that. Spread to run. Use draws. Things like that. I know they're not going to want to do that, and they're going to think they're going to be, futile. But what I would say is at least try it, man, because against this team, you can't be one dimensional. If you're going to be one dimensional, it's gonna be a long day. And then on top of that, another situation that I see that could really massively benefit Winslow, just as Quia Hendricks did not play against IMG and he's another playmaker. They also didn't have Julian Peterson. That's the 3-star. I believe he's a 3-star prospect who's committed to Penn State to play outside corner. If you look at what IMG did, they attacked Nakir Hilton like first or like third. I think it was the third play of the game, and he gave up a deep touchdown. So who's to say that if Peterson in there, that touchdown wouldn't have happened and the game could have been a little bit closer? I'm not saying it would have ultimately decided the end result. I'm just saying the name of the game, especially nowadays, is to limit explosive plays. And he has shown himself, Julian Peterson, I'm talking about, he has shown himself to be able to cover, have good length, and be able to run. And that matters with eliminating explosive plays if you have these type of guys. So we don't currently know at this moment if Julian Peterson is playing, but if he is playing, he definitely is going to make a huge difference on their offense and defense. And I'm very interested to see, how Coach Bill Belton integrates him in this game. They just won against Winslow just won against Mainland. No, not Mainland, excuse me, Highland. They just won against Highland 52-0. So I really can't take anything from that game because it's just like, Highland, they barely even showed up. They barely even showed up. So it's just like I can't really take anything from that game. But that IMG game, I can take a lot from that game and correlate it to this game. So that's what I'm doing. So going through, I see this is if Peterson is playing. Like I want to see Winslow take away. I want to see Winslow take away what Bergen's quarterback Trey Tagliaferri likes most. And what we've seen in the past two games is that Trey Tagliaferri loves to throw the ball to Austin Busso. They have a connection. I believe I'll count somewhere. I say that they probably got at least 15 plus targets to Busso just alone in these last two games that they've played. And so I would love a situation where they have their best defensive back on Busso and take away Trey's first read. Because most times Busso is Trey's first read, right? But you're presenting another problem where you say, okay, what about Porter and the other and Willis? You just talked about how good you're right. I did just talk about how good they are, but you can't take away everybody. You can't take away everything. So I would love to see Winslow take away Busso. Do not let him be Trey's first read. And I want to see them jam him at the line and make him go somewhere else. I also want to see them blitz Trey. I have not seen Trey be blitzed that much by either East St. Louis or by Boca Raton. I didn't see them intentionally blitz him with more than 4. So I would love to see Winslow bring more than 4 and speed this guy up. Because if you take away his first read and you speed him up for a younger quarterback, I think he'll be prone to make some mistakes. Now, he hasn't given me any reason to think that he is going to be mistake prone. He hasn't shown me that yet. Right. But I think they deserve it to themselves. They owe it to themselves to at least find out if he can, if they can speed him up and speed up his processing. And if you speed up his processing, make him make tough throws, take away his first read where he usually goes, I think they'll be primed for success. I'm not saying that they're winning, but that's what I would do to kind of even the playing field. Also, another thing that Bergen Catholic did against Boca Raton, that I see is going to be a thing in this next game. When they bring in Walker Snee, they're not just running with him anymore. They are, they're passing with him now. I believe they passed twice against the Florida team, in that last game. And one, I believe, went for a deep completion to Busso, and it got called back off of a flag. But that's just another wrinkle that Bergen can throw at you. But now it's a situation where they watch that on film. They have to be honest for both of them, because if they go play action while Walker's in the game, I can see that being a touchdown just off discipline alone. So I honestly would play both quarterbacks as if they are both passing threats, and they've shown that they are, and they've shown it on tape. And I know there's going to be some type of wrinkle that they add that's going to take advantage of that and is going to play on that. So I would love for the Winslow defense to be ready for that, because they're going to throw something at them. And then on top of that, too, just taking it a step further, to how else they gotta limit those runs. I mean, that offensive line for Bergen is massive. They're really good. But if you can just keep the gains just 2 to 3, Like they're gonna limit the run explosive plays. Like in that for Bergen against the team in Florida. I keep saying Boca Raton. I don't know what West Boca. Believe it, that's the team. I don't want to disrespect the team, but West Boca. When you limit explosive run plays are one of the killers in football. Like explosive period are, but it's a difference if you can get a perfectly blocked explosive run play that's over 20 yards. And I want to see Winslow at least do that. Just limit the explosive runs. And if they can limit the explosive runs, if they can take away Trey Tagliaferri's first read, and if they can force Trey to speed up by bringing more than 4 on third down or whenever in key situations, I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be able to have a path to victory. It's just when Winslow's offense has to deal with Bergen's defense, I just don't know. I don't know what that's gonna look like. I mean, I have a thought, right, as I've already explained, but I don't know if you can execute that over 4 quarters. Just like I said, just because when I was watching the IMG Winslow game, they had to play doggone near perfect football to win that game. And then what was it? Their second drive, Nakir Hilton gets tackled and the ball bounces in the air, and IMG takes that back for a touchdown. Like they have to play near perfect football to win. And I'm not saying that they can't. I'm just saying that it doesn't leave a lesser talented team, quote unquote, any room for error. And they're already behind the 8 ball. But again, I do think there is a path to success for Winslow. Obviously, if I had to, I'm not going to pick the game just yet. What I'm going to say is I want to talk about the coaching battle. I think Bill Belton showed against IMG that he can put together game plans that can be advantageous for his quarterback and his team. And he's going to need to do that again. Again, I believe, getting it out quick, forcing these DBs to tackle. That is one thing that all of these DBs do well. I forgot to mention Xavier Jackson too, the North Carolina commit. He's a solid DB also, but he got beat a couple times in the West Boca game too. So, and that goes back to my point that Winslow has playmakers who can win against these DBs, right? It's just going to be about, can Jalen Parker throw under pressure, and can he get it out quick enough where he isn't, impeded. So I think Coach Bill Belton can put together a solid game, but he's got to incorporate something in the run game. You can't just have a run. You can't just have an offense where there's no rushing attack at all. Even if you got to do end arounds, you got to get creative and sexy in that run game. I'm not really talking about what Bergen can do on offense, because Bergen can do everything on offense, right? So, it's not a situation where Coach Campanelli, has to like change something he does drastically from what they've already been doing. They've shown that they can run the ball effectively. They've shown that they can pass the ball and create explosive plays. So I want to see the same thing from Winslow, and I want to see them. They're gonna compete. Like they're gonna show up. They have a lot of talent across the roster. A lot of the players that I just named. You see those wild cards again. Peterson, if he plays, and then Hendricks should be playing this game. So we'll see how they incorporate them in the offense. But I think the coaching battle is a lot more even than people want to, give credit for. I love Coach Campanelli. He's done everything, wonderful. I mean, even if you look at what he did in the West Boca game, just doing little things like being able to draw a team off sides, creating environments for that. Like Coach Campanelli is really good at just, getting little yards here or there, or making that one call to, shift the game. And I think he's shown that in these last 2 games. I mean, even in the East St. Louis game, the biggest play of the game, the 2-point conversion that he had to Brian Porter to win the game, like that was a gutsy move. And shout out to Coach Campanelli for making that move, because you always raise your success level when you go for it on 4th down. And that was another thing I had wanted to see from Winslow when they play IMG. And I'm sure they probably talked about this too. Like, I'm not saying that they didn't. It's just something I didn't see, is that they were trying to, like, when Winslow would score against IMG, because I believe they scored 3 touchdowns, I believe, they would kick a field goal. And I'm just like, yo, you're, I won't say a massive underdog, but you are an underdog. Why are you not going for 2 every play? You know what I mean? I understand you don't want to get yourself behind the chains, but you don't get yourself behind the scoreboard. You don't want to chase points. However, what I will say, however, is you have to be aggressive because you are the underdog. And you also need to rely on your best unit and your best players. And by far and away, Winslow's best players are on offense. And so rather than sending my kicker out there to maybe get a kick, I'd rather put the ball into my cool, calm, and collective quarterback's hands and get it to these outstanding playmakers and have them make plays. So with that being said, can't wait for this game. It's going to be streamed on the D2 Sports Network. Shout out to D2 Sports. I love them. I'm going to pick Bergen Catholic, and it's going to be a situation where it's going to be a 31. I'll say 31-17. I'll say that. I can see Winslow getting at least 2 to 3 touchdowns. I could see them, really putting up a fight. But I just think with Bergen's depth, with their offense being able to create explosives in the air and on the ground, and just being, so explosive on both sides of the ball for that matter. I think it's going to be, a lot for Winslow, but Winslow showed me that they can at least hang and compete. And I think we're going to see more of that in this game. And I'm very excited to see, what Winslow does. So yeah, man, I appreciate y'all staying. If you did stay and watch the end of this video, I'm going to try to go post content on my YouTube channel a lot more. Just so I can, get my voice out there of what I feel about certain teams. Cause I like talking in this form, like writing articles is cool. So, and if you've been following me, you follow my articles. Please go to preprezo.com and check out some of my articles. I wrote what we learned about Winslow. I wrote what we learned about Bergen, and I wrote what we learned about Rancocas Valley, a team RV that I really like, who is really going to come up. I think the next video I'm going to do is I'm going to react to either the Keep It a Buck / Zone 6 top 20 or the New Jersey Gridiron top 20. And I'm going to kind of talk about each team, what I like and what I don't like, who should be higher, who should be lower. So yeah, keep tuning into my YouTube channel. Look out for my shorts. I'm gonna be putting out a lot of New Jersey content this year, and shout out to New Jersey. Shout out to the high school football team, everybody in North Jersey and South Jersey. Shout out to my Bergen Catholic brothers. We got a love hate relationship, but it's more love than hate for me anyway. So yeah, just stick around and keep, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content. And until next time, man, we'll see you out there on the field.